As you know, the media is dominated by left-of-centre views. And when a government spends hundreds of billions of dollars and generates record debt, the left don't have any way to criticise it. The only sensible criticism comes from a right-of-centre perspective, the fiscally conservative angle. So what does the left do? What does the media do? They forget economics and they flick the switch to identity politics.
We also speak with women who are cash-strapped and out of work and who fear the government's budget won't improve their lives.
This recession is really different from the 90s and 80s recessions in that it's hit women harder, and yet there doesn't seem to be a huge amount for women in the budget. And I think that's it's an oversight that will probably become more apparent in the days to come, David.
We're very concerned about women.
Women were the big losers last night. We really didn't see any initiatives to support jobs for women.
A big spending budget gives tax cuts to millions, but little to women and older workers.
But it seems there are barriers for women at all stages of their career.
You wonder whether that would be shifted if there were more women on the Expenditure Review Committee.
I just think we need more women in this decision-making process in general. It really just, again, reaffirms that women are not really consulted in the decision-making room.
Well, I do think there's a gendered response from government. I mean, they can say that it is not, but you can see the bias that exists in the policy that they've actually put in.
$1 trillion in debt and nothing for women.
This is the best the media, especially the ABC, can do. It's Twitter-level analysis, isn't it? And on Twitter, ABC favourite Jane Caro said, just so long as it's only women who are worse off, Mr Morrison? I guess your budget has made sure of that. I suppose it is possible for budget criticism to be dumber and more divisive, but it's hard to imagine how. Let's bring in the panel now. We're joined by the digital editor here at Sky News, Jack Houghton, and, of course, a woman, Rebecca WEISSER, who's a columnist for The Spectator Australia. Did you just see this budget through the eyes of your womanhood, Rebecca?
Well, thankfully not. Believe it or not, one can have, and we all do, have multiple identities. Look, you know, it's very depressing. You know, over and over again, the new way to approach everything seems to be, number one, you have to look at it through, you know, the lens of the disadvantaged. Number two, you have to criticise if these so-called disadvantaged groups aren't disproportionately represented in any coverage. And I think it misses the important point. What we want is serious analysis of what is the key economic statement for the government.
Yeah, Jack, what do you think of my point? I mean, I think because it's a right-of-centre government, of course, you're looking for the left to criticise it. Because it's so generous, the only sensible criticism is really from the right, to say that it's perhaps borrowing too much, perhaps spending too much. But the left don't want to criticise that, so they just go for their old favourite, identity politics.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a budget that almost has all the hallmarks of a Labor budget. It spends big. I mean, it really reaches every single metric that Labor would probably want it to. But there is not a specific allegiance to all the leftist ideology littered through it. There's not all these specific call-outs to women on, you know, on policies which do include women anyway. So they have to tear it down. I mean, it becomes, I think, rather petty and trivial when you start going through something as complicated and far-reaching as the budget, but you have to break it down on these kind of arbitrary data points. And I mean, you know, as just mentioned, we all have lots of different identity points, and gender is just one of them. So it seems like a fairly arbitrary point to make in terms of criticism.
All right, we'll stay there because I want to have a look at